Welcome to the AI Checkpoints. I'm your guide into today's deep dive, and we're exploring a really fascinating corner of the AI world, the Model Context Protocol, or
Yeah,
MCP.
that's right.
Our mission today really is to unpack this emerging standard. We'll dive into its core purpose, some of the surprising challenges of making it enterprise-ready, and yeah, its often overlooked hidden capabilities.
hmm
It's kind of a journey, isn't it? From these simple local experiments, all the way to this grand vision of an interconnected, intelligent, agentic economy.
Indeed. And MCP, well, it's often misunderstood. Some folks see it as just another technical acronym.
Just jargon.
Exactly. But it's rapidly evolving into something much more foundational, a standard that's going to profoundly shape how AI systems interact going forward.
Okay.
So we'll explore not just what it is, but really why it matters and where the biggest challenges and I think the most exciting opportunities lie for you.
Okay, let's unpack this then,
Yep.
because for a long time, we had AI models that just, chatted directly with users.
Right, the chatbot phase.
Then came tool calling, where AIs could use external functions or APIs. But our sources suggest this first try at tool calling was, well, the phrase used was, it kind of sucks.
Yeah, that sounds about right for early attempts.
Apparently painful. Things went wrong. So what exactly is MCP, and how is it fundamentally different from that earlier, maybe clunkier approach?
Okay, so what's fascinating here is that MCP is designed as a much more robust and importantly standardized way for AI to interface with any external resource.
Any resource, like what?
Well, it could be a database, could be a complex computation, maybe even just pulling in a specific prompt or, a piece of data.
Right.
But unlike that sort of one-off nature of simple tool calling, MCP really aims for standardization and, crucially, a stateful connection.
Stateful, what does that mean in practice?
It means that AI and the external tool, they maintain an ongoing session. Think of it like a persistent conversation that has memory.
Ah, okay. Not just shouting commands.
Exactly, not just shouting commands into the void. This allows for persistent authentication, granular access control across a whole series of actions, and that consistent context. It's vital for managing complex interactions. It leads to far better security, better reliability across a whole ecosystem, and avoids those frustrating moments where things just go wrong.
So it's about AIs talking to other things, but like much more intelligently
Yeah,
and securely.
precisely. More intelligently, more securely.
But why is this suddenly so critical now? I found it interesting that our sources compare it to how intelligence emerges in, like, biological systems or even markets.
Yeah, that comparison's really insightful.
What does that mean for AI beyond just, having a chatbot that can Google something?
Well, this takes us to a really, I think, profound point. The path to general intelligence in computing. It isn't necessarily just about building one single monolithic super smart model.
Yeah.
Instead, our sources suggest it's more like how intelligence emerges in complex systems like biology or markets. It happens through the dynamic interaction of many specialized goal-oriented AI entities. We call them agents.
Agents, right?
And MCP, well, it provides the fundamental missing piece. It's the fabric, or you could call it the agentic mesh, that finally lets these individual brains, these agents, not just exist, but actually talk to each other to collaborate.
So they form a larger collective intelligence.
That's the idea. This opens the door to what people are calling an agentic economy, a place where these AI agents can discover, find, maybe even purchase services from businesses.
Business to agent, B2A.
Exactly, B2A. Or even from other agents, which would be A2A, agent to agent. It's the standard that lets these specialized AIs connect and sort of build something bigger together.
Okay, so think of it like different specialized AI brains all able to talk to each other to solve bigger, more complex problems seamlessly.
That's a good way to put it.
It feels like a huge shift from, what many of us imagine when we think of just a single chatbot answering a question.
It is.
This sounds more like building complex automated workflows where AI isn't just one thing, but a whole dynamic, interconnected network.
Precisely. It's infrastructure for AI collaboration.
Okay, this all sounds pretty grand, maybe a bit futuristic.
Yeah.
But where do people actually start? I mean, our sources talk about building fun, local MCP servers,
Yeah, the fun stuff.
like an emotional support bot that feeds goats on a live stream. which apparently is a real API you can actually use.
It is. And honestly, it's genuinely quite fun to build those things. You can spin up a local server, maybe tweet out your local host link, get your friends to play with it.
Right, just messing around.
Yeah, it's hacky, but it's great for internal demos, like
Yeah.
connecting to an API just to see if it works, or, yeah, getting that goat bot online for a laugh.
But there's always a but.
Always. This hacky phase, while it's fantastic for a proof of concept, it quickly runs into walls. Serious walls, when you try to make it useful or crucially reliable for anyone else.
Okay.
And this brings us to a really key point. What does it truly take to move from a local, fun, goat-feeding bot to something an enterprise can genuinely rely on?
And that's where the rubber meets the road, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Our sources immediately point to security and authentication
Yeah,
as the first, massive hurdle.
absolutely.
You can't just have an external API that's completely unauthenticated, right?
Right.
That goat bot, charming as it is going to cause some serious headaches if it goes viral without proper safeguard.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Precisely. The main thing you need is robust authentication and authorization. UTHO 2.1 is critical here.
Okay, OLI 2.1.
But it's a newer standard, and frankly, not many systems support it yet. So integration can be a real challenge for a lot of companies. You see companies like WorkOS specifically focused on providing this glue, so AI labs don't have to tackle the sources called it painful, annoying work of scaling security themselves.
I can imagine it is painful and annoying.
It really is. And we've seen examples, right? Companies giving out free credits for their AI APIs only for those credits to get totally abused.
Abused how?
Like someone using it to write fan fiction, which, okay, maybe it's creative, but it certainly wasn't the intended use, and it just blows through budgets.
Right. Not quite the enterprise use case. So if your GoatBot goes viral,
Yeah, if your GoatBot hits the big time, you immediately hit problems like that free credit abuse. You need bot blocking on signups. You need really robust controls over the whole authentication stack. Input validation, too, to prevent prompt injection attacks that could trick your AI into doing something bad. And just strict access controls, who gets to talk to your service.
So, okay, the moment your whimsical emotional support GoatBot finds an audience, suddenly you're slammed with classic web scaling issues.
Pretty much.
Free credit abuse, managing tons of users.
Yeah.
But what does it really mean when we talk about scaling this into a full-blown enterprise solution beyond just those immediate security worries?
Yeah, scaling into the enterprise, it involves a pretty well-worn path, the standard SaaS path, but it has these critical AI-specific things to consider.
Like what?
Like single sign-on, SSO. You absolutely need that so users, and importantly agents, can securely access multiple services with just one set of credentials.
Right, avoids token sprawl.
Exactly. Otherwise, you end up with tokens everywhere. It's unmanageable. You also need robust lifecycle management for these AI accounts, proper provisioning, much like how Block internally provisions AI access via SSO to their MCP servers.
Okay, makes sense.
And then there's regulation. GDPR, for instance, is explicitly calling for additional logging requirements specifically for AI workloads.
So standard auto logs aren't enough.
Nope, not anymore. You need to know what the AI did, why it did it, and how it arrived at that decision. It's a higher bar. And data loss prevention, DLP. That becomes a significant risk when people or agents can just chat wildly with all sorts of different servers. Look, it isn't just about the cool functionality. It's about the boring, nitty-gritty stuff that often, yeah, it sucks, but it is absolutely essential for production.
Yeah, unsexy plumbing.
Totally. It's a lot of the same old software problems, really, but with this fresh coat of AI paint that demands new layers of scrutiny.
Absolutely. Sounds like the kind of problem that keeps developers up at night. No glamorous AI breakthroughs, just relentless plumbing.
That's the reality of enterprise software.
So what does this all mean for someone looking to build serious AI applications? It means you have to deal with this messy reality, right? Security, scaling, compliance, even for a goat-feeding bot. But given that, what's the most common pitfall people run into? Maybe they think they've got the old software problems covered, but then Find AI adds this whole new layer of complexity.
That's a great question. Because a really frequent misconception, I think, is that you can just take an existing open API spec, the thing that describes an API, and just expose all its endpoints as MCP tools.
Just dump it all out there.
Yeah. And our sources warn very strongly that this leads to, and I quote, the worst results you can possibly imagine.
Wow. Okay. Why?
Because you cannot just throw raw data, especially huge, complex JSON payloads, at an LLM and expect magic.
Right. They need structure.
Exactly. You need to carefully massage the data. You need to design the interaction around how agents will actually use it, provide context in a way LLMs can easily reason about, like well-structured markdown, not giant blobs of JSON.
Gotcha.
There was this one example. A company found a simple bug fix task, should have been easy. It ended up triggering 20 separate API queries.
20.
Yeah, and it cost them $5 just for that one task, purely because of how inefficiently the LLM was having to pull context. That's obviously not sustainable.
No kidding.
So yeah, it's about quality, intentional design, not just quantity or brute force exposure of everything.
So it's not about the sheer number of tools, but how intelligently and efficiently they're designed and presented.
Okay.
What are some of the other maybe transformative features that are still underutilized or misunderstood in MCP right now?
Well, one that's really fascinating is dynamic tool discovery.
Dynamic tool discovery. Okay.
This is, I think, a killer feature. It allows tools to basically appear or disappear based on the current context.
Instead of the AI having a massive list to pick from.
Exactly. Instead of the AI trying to sift through this huge static list of every possible function, only the relevant ones show up.
Can you give an example?
Yeah, imagine playing like a text-based dungeon crawler game. The battle tool, it only appears when there's actually a monster in the room.
Oh, that's clever.
Right. It greatly improves the AI's focus, its efficiency, prevents it from getting bogged down in irrelevant options. Epify, for example, they have something like 5,000 tools in their marketplace.
5,000.
Yeah. But they dynamically provide only the relevant subset to an agent at any given moment. Completely prevents that context window overload problem.
That is a very clever way to manage complexity. Makes the AI seem smarter because it's only seeing what it needs.
Less noise.
Okay, what about sampling? One source called it the most confusingly named part of MCP. What's that about?
Yeah, the name is a bit confusing. Sampling allows an MCP server, so the tool provider, to actually request an LLM completion back from the client.
Wait, the tool asks the user's AI to do work.
Essentially, yes. The agent acting as a tool can piggyback on the main agent's LLM access.
Why would you do that?
Well, it's incredibly powerful for cost management and context. Imagine, say, a research agent. It needs to query a huge database, right?
Okay.
And then it needs to use an LLM to interpret or summarize those results. Instead of spinning up its own expensive LLM instance, it can just use the client's LLM.
Leveraging the existing setup.
Exactly. Avoids redundant costs, keeps the context tighter. It also lets you do things like provide progress updates. Well, the tool can send back little updates like, okay, query running or analyzing results. So you're not just left wondering if your deep research query is still alive or if it's, crashed and burned somewhere.
That's actually really useful. Beats staring at a blank screen.
Totally. And then there's elicitation. This is a newer draft feature.
The elicitation.
Yeah, it basically allows models to intelligently ask a human for more input when they realize they don't have enough details to proceed.
So the AI knows when to ask for help.
Kind of like a human-in-the-loop clarification required prompt, yeah. It makes agents far more robust, less likely to just fail silently when they hit something ambiguous.
Okay, let's unpack this a bit. It sounds like a lot of these features, dynamic discovery, sampling, elicitation, they're all about making agents more efficient, yes, but also more intelligent in how they interact. And maybe even more human-like by knowing when to ask for help.
That's a good way to frame it, yeah.
Yeah.
More capable, more contextual, less brittle.
But with all this cool innovation, what's still the single biggest pain point when you try to put all this into, say, external enterprise workloads today? Where does it still hurt the most?
The hardest part, I'd say, is still building really robust authorization and access control across all these different AI workloads.
Still security, huh?
Yeah, especially when you add in remote asynchronous operations, dynamic client registration. It gets complicated fast.
Right.
Things still keep going wrong because passing access controls between agents, mostly in vibes, as one source put it.
Mostly in vibes.
Yeah, based on a loose, informal understanding rather than strict, auditable protocols. That just doesn't scale. It's not secure.
Vibes-based security doesn't sound very enterprise ready.
Not at all. It's easy to build a local hack where everything just trusts everything else.
Yeah.
But getting true enterprise-grade security on something so dynamic, so distributed, that's a whole different ballgame. There's still a lot of fundamental, frankly, hard work to be done on that front.
Okay, so we've talked about what MCP is, the immediate, often painful challenges, and some of its really groundbreaking features. But let's look further out now. What does that grand vision of an agentic economy truly look like, where agents can really operate autonomously, maybe even manage their own affairs?
Right, the big picture. Well, for agents to truly replace or, significantly augment complex human workflows, they need to be able to autonomously discover and access services
Right.
without constant human hand-holding.
Sure.
Currently, agents are still pretty dependent on human developers giving them API tokens, basically fisting them access manually.
Like giving your robot pocket money.
Yeah, something like that. The vision would be agents subscribing themselves to services, or maybe there's a central identity and payments provider they can interact with directly.
So they handle their own bills.
Potentially, yeah. Now, companies like Coinbase and Stripe, they're certainly exploring this space, but it's a massive long-term challenge.
By long term.
Because you hit that classic chicken and egg problem of launching entirely new payment systems or trust networks. Who accepts a new type of payment if no one uses it? And who uses it if no one accepts it? It takes time to build that ecosystem.
Right, the network effect problem. But there's a more immediate solution kind of bridging this gap right now, isn't there? You mentioned marketplaces earlier.
Yes, exactly. Marketplaces like Apify Store, they offer a really brilliant bridging solution for now.
How do they work?
Well, with just one API token for the marketplace itself, an agent can suddenly get access to potentially thousands of diverse tools.
Ah, one token to rule them all.
Sort of. Developers publish their tools, they monetize them through the marketplace, and importantly, they absorb the underlying costs of running those tools.
Okay, so the complexity is handled by the marketplace and the tool dev.
Right. This allows for really rapid scaling of available agent services without needing direct cooperation or integration from every single third-party service provider out there.
That makes sense.
And what's even more powerful, you can actually nest MCP servers.
Nest them, like Russian dolls.
Kind of. It means one MCP server can expose actions that are actually provided by other MCP servers downstream. You can create these really powerful layered ecosystems of intelligent services.
So it really is like an app store for AI agents, but maybe even more interconnected.
Mm-hmm.
And they can potentially pay for services themselves through the marketplace structure.
That's a great analogy, yeah. The App Store for AI agents really captures it, especially with that potential payment layer handled by the market.
But with that kind of power, what are the new questions? The potential pitfalls that come up? Our sources hinted at some maybe flakiness and trust issues here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious, our sources mentioned you can even buy a t-shirt via an MCP server now. What does that signify for the broader market? Is it just a gimmick or...
That's a good point, and you're right to ask about the pitfalls. The biggest open questions are definitely around reliability and trust. Like, will autonomous tool discovery consistently provide reliable value, or is it still going to be a bit flaky initially? How can agents really trust the tools they find or other agents they interact with?
Especially if someone can just wrap a third-party service.
Exactly. Especially if developers can wrap third-party services maybe without the original service provider even knowing about it. How do you verify quality or security? These are very much open questions the community is actively grappling with.
Right. Lots to figure out.
But the fact that you can buy a t-shirt through an MCP server right now, or integrate with complex financial APIs, it shows the core architecture is fundamentally sound. It works.
So it's not just theory.
Not at all. Fundamentally, look, MCP is just a plug-in architecture, right?
Right.
And agents are arguably just services with a fancy new word attached.
Oh, okay. Demystifying it a bit.
Yeah. Many of the challenges we've talked about, security, scaling, reliability, they're essentially new paint on old familiar software problems, which actually makes it surprisingly accessible, I think, for folks willing to get into that nitty-gritty.
So don't be scared by the jargon.
Don't be scared by the jargon. It's clear this is a fast-moving ecosystem. Sometimes, yeah, maybe it feels quite broken all the time, as one source put it.
Huh. Sounds about right for cutting-edge tech.
But it's also incredibly innovative and becoming increasingly practical day by day.
Wow. What a deep dive that was.
Yeah.
We've really journeyed from the basics of the model context protocol, understanding how it evolved beyond just simple tool calling, and then into that intense work of making it actually enterprise ready, the security, the management, all that fun stuff.
The essential stuff.
And we also peeked into the real cutting edge, didn't we? Dynamic tool discovery, the cleverness of sampling, elicitation.
Yeah.
And yeah, that ambitious vision of an agentic economy where AIs might eventually discover and even pay for services all on their own.
Indeed. And the transformative potential of MCP, I think, is immense. It's really about enabling this truly interconnected agentic mesh.
Yeah.
And it's an ecosystem where, surprisingly, you listening can have a real influence by providing feedback, by contributing maybe to the evolving spec.
Interesting.
The core lesson here, I believe, is that while the terminology might be new agents, MCP mesh the underlying principles of good software engineering. They haven't changed. Security, reliability, scalability, thoughtful design, they remain absolutely paramount.
So same principles, new context.
Exactly. So the question to ponder is, what new workflows could you automate? Or what complex problems could you finally tackle if your AI agents could seamlessly interact with any service, anywhere, with real confidence and autonomy?
A lot to chew on there. Definitely food for thought. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
My pleasure.
Until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep exploring.